Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're taking a look at another one of the Decepticon Commandos from Robots in Disguise. This time around we're looking at Movor. Now, Movor was released in 2001 with all the other Commandos. In Japan he would be released a year earlier, and he would be called Shuttler. Of course, Movor and his compatriots would be released again in 2003 in a couple of multi-packs where he would be in either urban camouflage or desert camouflage. Those versions would be exclusive to Walmart. Now, of course, Movor here is basically, like the others, is a repaint of a Combaticon. He is a repaint of Blastoff from 1986. So they are both spaceborne warriors. Blastoff functioned as a space warrior, but a lot of his stuff was also into sniping, since apparently he was pretty accurate, and he really didn't have to care about what all he hit while in orbit, since he was so far away and detached from the battle. Movor, unfortunately, is the complete opposite. Movor can't hit the broadside of a barn, and is more than likely to shoot one of his fellow Decepticons, or a harmless tree or rock, than he is to hit his intended targets. So once again, we get another Decepticon that can't shoot worth anything. Plus, he's also a bit of a talker when he's all by himself in outer space. I guess that's his way of combating the loneliness that sometimes Blastoff also felt when he was up in space on his missions, as he wouldn't have anybody up, as neither of them would have any of their teammates up there with them. So, while he retains some of the characteristics of his G1 brother, they've clearly went in a different direction with how well he functions as a soldier. Let's get Blastoff out of the way here, and we'll take a look at Movor. And we'll take a look at his articulation. He has a ball joint here at his arm, which would basically be about at his forearm, so he can bend his arm at the elbow. He can raise the arm up at the shoulder, up and down like so, but he can rotate at the elbow or bicep. And he can also rotate his arms at the hand, as his wrist is rotatable. So he has quite a lot for his arms, which sort of makes up for the fact that his legs are one solid mass, so you really can't do anything with his legs, except aim the cannons over the barricades. So, not much to go there, folks. Okay, let's transform Movor. Of course, the first thing we have to do is remove his weaponry. And then, of course, we're going to rotate his hands at the wrist so that the hands go inward. Rotate his arms like so, so that the windscreen will be on his backside. Fold the arms up over his head, merge them together, and then push them down to be flush against his body. Now down here, we push his legs inward like so, straighten up his tail fin, and fold down his wings. And there you have it. He's in his alternate mode. a space shuttle, very similar to the NASA orbiter. It's listed, the G1 Bruticus form was listed in the Transformer Guidebook as a Rockwell Space Shuttle Orbiter. So that would be what Movor is as well. Now, like his companion Rotor, there is a slight difference between the Car Robots Japanese toy and the American Robots in Disguise version. The one released by Takara goes with more of a purple windscreen than the silver one here featured on the American toy. There's also considerably less what's known as re-entry burn paint wash here on the body. Plus, of course, on the wings, they replaced the Decepticon insignia with an anti-Cybertron badge that's featured on the Takara version. So, things to look out for if you happen to be buying the different versions. Plus, of course, like with Blastoff, you can attach the leg cannons into the thrusters so that you have yourself an attack shuttle. Let's see how that looks next to Blastoff. As you can see, the recolor does work well for Movor over Blastoff. Blastoff always did look pretty ugly in these colors, so this is a nice improvement. At least Movor looks more realistic than what Blastoff did. Of course, as he's a flying vehicle, he should swoosh. And he does swoosh pretty good. But he also has some little wee wheels for rolling on the ground. How well does Movor roll on the ground? Not bad. Not bad at all. So, pretty nicely done. The only thing I'd worry about is probably this silver paint on the windshield here. Older Hasbro toys were notorious for having bad silver paint, so being one of the older generation myself, I would worry about the silver paint. I would hope, after all these years, it's a better quality, but it still deserves to be mentioned. Let's take a look here now at Movor's weapons, starting with his pistol. It's what the Wikia refers to his gun as. It's a pistol. Whereas Blastoff came with an ionic blaster. And it's basically the same shape. It's also got an ammunition clip sticking out the left side. Always found that an interesting little detail. And then, of course, you have the left and right cannons. Of course, on Blastoff, these were sonic cannons. But the new toys don't get any mentioning as to what specifically their guns are. They just have guns. That kind of takes away some of the fun and imagination. In my eyes, at least. And those are Movor's weapons. Now, unfortunately, since Hasbro did not feel the need to give us any sort of information about this character on his card, we're left to jump straight to my final thoughts. And in ways, I'd like to say that Movor's toy is an improvement over Blastoff's. I like the colors that are done on him, because the black works well for him. The off-white looks very good on him. The orange chest plate looks nice compared to the purple one on Blastoff. So all in all, I like the improvements that Hasbro did to this toy. It looks more like a space shuttle than what Blastoff did in terms of the colors. You could tell from the shape, Blastoff was definitely a space shuttle. But with the way his colors were, he didn't look like a space shuttle. But then again, how in the heck did Starscream build a space shuttle out of World War II vehicles, as was shown in the cartoon? So, you can see why I try not to use the cartoon as a lot of references. But at any rate, all we have to go by with Movor is the fact that he is a very poor shot. So that, unfortunately, hinders his usefulness to the team. Supposedly, when he can get closer to his targets, he does a little bit better. In one of his very old skits, Canadian comic Steve Smith, as his famous character Red Green, talked about one of his lodge buddies and how well of a shot he was. And this character apparently was able to hit a boulder dead on from 10 feet. And that almost describes how Movor's shooting could be. He could probably shoot a boulder and hit it dead on at 10 feet. But then again, just about any of us could probably hit a boulder from 10 feet using just about anything. So unfortunately, Movor has a hard time standing up to being useful, especially when you consider the fact that Blastoff was at least a fairly decent sniper from the orbit. So Movor unfortunately fails to live up to the legacy of his G1 counterpart, but the toy itself still deserves a middle tier slot. Since, while they may not have made him a better soldier, his disguise certainly works better than what we got with Blastoff. And that concludes my review of the Robots in Disguise version of Movor and his comparison to the G1 Combaticon Blastoff. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube. New to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you'll be notified when we post new content. Also, please share your thoughts of Movor or Blastoff in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.